Soul Simmers, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're talking calendars, and not the boring ones where you have to check when you have to go to the dentist. Today we're talking about many ideas for custom holidays that you can add to your Sims calendars to keep your gameplay interesting. The calendar is honestly a pretty overpowered storytelling tool, but I feel like not everyone is using it to its full potential. Whenever I show my calendar in either save file tours, just when I'm playing the game here on my YouTube channel or on my Twitch streams, people always ask me how I set up my custom holidays and where I got the ideas from. So in this video, I would like to share with you, one, how you can actually make these custom holidays, but also how you can just use the calendar more smartly. And then I would like to share a bunch of custom holidays that you can set up into your calendar to make your gameplay engaging and give it more depth. So without further ado, let's actually hop into the game so I can show you all the nitty-gritty details of the Sims 4 calendar that you need to know to get started. So when you're loaded into a household and you open up your Sims calendar, how busy your calendar is will depend on how many expansion packs you have. The more packs you have, the more things will be in these calendar. And unfortunately, that can get pretty overwhelming. So the first thing that I would like to share with you, and that is actually something that I keep hearing not many people know, is that you can actually filter the calendar. And it is such a nice feature if you have a lot of expansion packs, because you can literally just say that you only want to see holidays and then just check it, and now all of a sudden all the other things are gone. If you just want to see your Sims birthdays and nothing else, you can just filter on that one, and it makes it so much easier to use the calendar, especially if you're trying to schedule things for yourself that will be like a recurring holiday that you're going to see every single year. Most of the ideas in today's video will actually be a holiday, or we'll be using things like the getaway function where you can actually schedule recurring getaways. If you're curious about an entire tutorial on getaways, I actually have made one on this channel, so I'll link it in the description down below. But just know that if you want to schedule something on the calendar, what you can do is you can scroll down here and you can see all the events. However, again, that can be pretty overwhelming. So what I would recommend is, if you're trying to schedule a holiday, just filter by holidays, and then you'll actually only see the feature to schedule holidays. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to click on the day and you're going to click on the plus sign. When you do that, it's going to actually give a pop-up menu for you to create a custom holiday. On this custom holiday, you can set a name for your holiday. You can choose an icon. I actually have a mod that adds a ton more icons to the game, but by default, there's a pretty good selection. Then here you can say what kind of decoration theme you want, whether it's a day off from work or school or not, and there is a bunch of traditions that you can pick from. However, I very often use the calendar also just to set reminders. So I have one in my game where every single Monday, which is basically the start of the new season, I'll have a reminder to take family pictures, because that way I'll just get a little pop-up in my game so that it will tell me like, hey, don't forget that you want to take pictures of your family. And usually after a week, there's been quite some progress and it makes sense to take new family photos. This means that I won't set up any traditions. This means I will tick it off that there's no day off work of school. I will actually not pick a decoration theme. From here, I'll just pick an icon that makes remote sense, I guess. So let's see, is there anything that works? I think for the other one, I have like a camera or something. There we go. And then I'll just write family pictures, and from here I'll just click check. The unfortunate thing is that you're going to have to schedule this manually on like every single day, and also you can only have one holiday per day. So if you're going to do a lot of custom holidays, just keep in mind that you're going to have to sort of come up with a structure that makes sense. But I think from that, that's it. From that, you actually know everything you need to know on how to use the calendar, and I'm just going to give you a bunch of ideas and examples for the rest of the video that you can use to customize your calendar, and like I said, hopefully make your gameplay more engaging and give your storytelling a bit more depth. To keep this video a bit more structured, I came up with different categories. So we have holidays, we have reminders, we have recurring getaways, we have storytelling hooks, and we have save file specific holidays. So we're going to start off with the traditional holiday category, which I guess will include the most predictable type of holidays that you can schedule for your Sims. The first subcategory in this is like religious or cultural holidays. You could do a Hanukkah celebration where you do like 8 days of candle lighting and your families bring over gifts. Of course, if you schedule it for 8 days, it will take up a lot of space in your calendar, so it's kind of up to you if you want to do all the days or just one, but the concept is there in the game. I even believe that we have a appropriate candle holder in the game to celebrate Hanukkah, so if you want, you can actually do that. The second is Ramadan and Eid, where your Sim only eats when the sun is not up or already down, and at the end you can do a big celebration where all of your Sims come over and have delicious food together. Another cool idea would be Diwali, where you actually invite over friends and family to light to decorate your home. Another one that you could do is Lunar New Year, where you would clean the house and you would gift each other envelopes, which you could basically translate to potentially giving each other gifts in the game. And you would have a lovely family dinner with everyone together. One that is technically already in the game, but that you could adjust to your own liking is Thanksgiving, or in the game it's called Harvest Fest. It would be a time where you make a big meal and you have it together with your family and you say thanks for the things that you appreciate in life. Then obviously we already have Love Day, but you can celebrate that either Love Day or Valentine's Day, where you take a moment to go on a romantic date with your significant other and give them gifts like roses and stuff. You could do Halloween, which is actually one that is not scheduled by default, but if you have the Spooky Day stuff pack, you can actually do pumpkin carving and your Sims can dress up and they can actually go trick-or-treating. Something that I love to add to my games is Pride Day, where your Sims will actually go out and celebrate together. This can be something simple like them going to a club to party, or this can be something where they decorate their house as well with the rainbow colors, or they talk to other Sims. If you have a modded save and you have like LGBTQI plus mods like the ones from Lumpy New, you can even take this further and you can use that day to have conversations with your significant other or with your family about your gender identity or stuff like that, which I think would be really cool to have in the game by default. But up until now, we just have to use mods a little bit, but I guess you could still put it in your calendar as a holiday to celebrate a bit extra. Another cute one could be a Mother's and Father's Day, where children will gift gifts to their parents and maybe be thankful for their parents. And then the last one in this category is the more traditional New Year's Eve, where your Sims will celebrate the wrapping up of the old year and the starting of the new one. Then within the holiday category, I also have a second subcategory, which would be more like seasonal or life-related holidays. The first one would be a spring cleaning day, which would be a day where your Sim focuses on making the house completely pristine. But something that I also like to do is I use that as sort of like an incentive for my Sims to sometimes get like a small home makeover. So not actually change the entire house layout, but just give them some new furniture and stuff like that. You could have a back to school day. If you do have a summer holiday scheduled, you can actually have a day where your kids go back to school and maybe you take pictures of them and stuff like that. You could have a graduation party specifically for Sims, that if they graduate from high school or maybe even from primary school, that you actually make that a more memorable moment. And if you wanted to, you could even have this as like a recurring day where your Sims will celebrate that they graduated like a year ago or something. You can have a pet appreciation day where you just absolutely spoil your pets. You maybe get them some new toys and stuff like that. Just like real life, I feel like your pets definitely deserve a special day to get some extra love as well. Next to that, you can have a neighborhood barbecue to kick off the summer together, where you just invite over your neighbors and you have a barbecue in the backyard. You could have a first snow day, which might be challenging to schedule because you don't exactly know when the snow will fall. But obviously you could have a day where you know, like midwinter, where you're just gonna do like snowy activities with all of your Sims together. Another one that could be really cute is somewhat related to maybe Harvest Fest, is you could actually do a farmer's market or like a Harvest Fest outside, where your Sims will actually do Harvest Fest related things. This could be inspired by the city living festivals, where your Sims can actually travel somewhere and then do activities that are related to something. So you could build like a big pumpkin farm where your Sims can go to harvest things and potentially even use those things and ingredients for Harvest Fest the day after. Another one that could be really cute is Friendship Day, where your Sim actually takes some extra time to hang out with their best friend and do something fun. Or you could schedule an end of summer bash, which is where your Sims will just celebrate the end of summer, which you could schedule on the last evening of your summer season, where your Sims will have like a late night out, have some drinks, maybe have a bonfire, stuff like that. Kind of in line with that, you could also do a Winterfest Eve. I know that we already have Winterfest in the game. If you wanted to, you could actually split up the Winterfest celebrations because there are so many traditions tied to this. This is what I've done in my save. So on Winterfest Eve, they actually decorate the Christmas tree and they put the gifts there. And then on Winterfest Day, they actually open the gifts and they have a grand dinner together. You could schedule something like Earth Day, which is a day where your Sim will appreciate the earth a bit more. It can be a day where they focus on gardening or things like cleaning up beaches if you have the Island Living expansion pack. We already talked a little bit about a back to school day, but you can obviously schedule vacations as well. So a yearly summer vacation where everyone will have a week off to travel, or maybe even a yearly ski trip over the weekend where your Sims will actually go to Mount Komorebi to learn skiing and snowboarding. That could be super fun to do with a family every single year. And then lastly in this category, we have Remembrance Day, which could be a day where your Sims actively go out to the graveyard to visit Sims from past generations and remember them and honor them and maybe light a candle at their grave. Basically, that wraps up the traditional or more predictable holiday category. And now we're going to move on to the next category, which is reminders. Reminders are basically things that you can put in the calendar so that you will actually remember to do them in your gameplay, which can sometimes just help, especially if you're playing with a larger family or you're doing rotational gameplay and you want to make sure that you don't actually forget to do certain things. The first one is a very simple one. It's like a laundry day reminder. I know that in The Sims, laundry baskets overflow quite fast, but if you wanted to, you could just place like a huge amount of laundry baskets somewhere in a basement, and then you could technically have have your Sims do laundry like once a week. You have to play around with it a little bit, but I think for reality's sake, it does make sense to only do laundry once a week and potentially schedule a holiday for yourself to remember it. The second one would be garden maintenance. Again, I feel like the game in a way already pushes you in some sort of a flow with garden maintenance, but I guess for storytelling, if you really wanted to, you could only do garden maintenance like 3 times a week on 3 weekdays where you schedule it for yourself. I feel like if you want to do storytelling where your sim kind of builds a routine where they work out on certain days and they do like working on certain days or like taking care of the house, I feel like that's just something that we all do in real life. So in a way, you could use the calendar for that to actually do that for your Sims as well. Next up, we have an update your wardrobe one, and this is a really fun one if you're a person who tends to forget about making over your Sims. This is definitely something that I'm guilty of. I will give my Sim a makeover when they're a teenager and then realize when they turn into an elder that they've literally looked the same for their entire life. I'm really trying to get better at giving my Sims makeovers when they change life stage, but still then I sometimes forget, so setting a little reminder for yourself in the calendar to do a wardrobe overhaul for your Sims like every 2 weeks or something could be really fun. Another one is an inventory clean. This is definitely one that I need, but I know a lot of Simmers run into the issue of their Sims inventory just getting a complete mess. And with things like the chest that we got from high school years, you can actually put things away or you can sell things to make some money. So I always do the inventory clean. Like I try to do it once a week in game, and then I also go to the mailbox, get all the stuff from there, because every single time a Sim ages up, they get a ton of gifts, which will then actually make my Sim quite some money. Another one could be like a skill focus day. If you want to do more realistic storytelling where your Sim is like trying to learn a skill but slowly over time instead of grinding it out in the period of one day, you could actually schedule, for instance, let's say your Sim is learning how to paint, that every Saturday they go to a painting class and they spend some time making a painting, which feels way more realistic than your Sim actually learning how to paint from like a noob to a master painter in just a span of a week. Another one could be like fixing and upgrading objects. This is obviously something that you can do if your objects in game are broken, but I always forget that you can actually upgrade a ton of things in the game as well. And just setting like a yearly reminder of doing like home maintenance or something, and then your Sim will spend an entire day just upgrading things around the house could be super useful. Something that I also like with this is if you actually schedule it in your calendar and you don't allow your Sim to do it every single day, it actually becomes more one of a routine, but it also becomes more realistic, where your Sim doesn't just spend 2 days working like crazy, taking the potions that they bought with their reward points to stay awake, and then in the end you have a fully upgraded house. And very often what happens if you do those things too fast is you get bored of your gameplay. But by making them more like a recurring thing, you can actually work it into your storytelling rather than just kind of grinding all of the skills out. I already mentioned it in the beginning of the video, but you can actually schedule a photo day to remember to take photos of your Sims. You can go all out with this by downloading like the post player mod. If you want to know how that works, I do have a tutorial on my channel and I'll make sure to link that in the description box down below as well. But basically you could go all out and do like full post family photos, or you could download a simple mod from Ravasheen where you can just generate like a new family portrait that automatically updates with the new Sims in your house. I'll make sure to link that in the description box down below as well. Or of course you can just use the in-game camera to take a couple of cute photos of your Sims. But I think in general, having a reminder to take photos and actually document your Sims' lives is really cute. Another one that could be really fun is a community volunteering day, where you could basically use, for instance, eco living to actually visit a community lot like a community makerspace or a community market, where your Sim then hangs out for the entire day, meets other Sims from the community. And you could also use this day and kind of align it in game with the day where you have to vote on the neighborhood action plans, because I always feel like that gives kind of like a community or volunteering vibe. Then we already talked a little bit about how you could schedule things like holidays and stuff in your calendar to remember to give your Sim like a home makeover, but you could also schedule this as a reminder. If you want to make sure that your Sim space gets updated over time, you could just set like a yearly reminder or a weekly reminder, even if you want to get really wild, to update your Sim spaces, and you can call it like a decor refresh day or something. And then lastly, you could have like a neighborhood check-in, especially if you're someone like me who tends to build houses where your Sims have everything that they need on their own lot, and therefore they rarely travel. Having a neighborhood check-in day could be a really fun thing for you to at least try and actively visit other Sims that are living around you so you can build some relationship with them. I think with that, it kind of wraps up the reminder category. So let's actually move on to the recurring getaways one. Another reminder, if you do not know how to use getaways, I have a full tutorial on my channel. Again, it's linked in the description box down below as well, but hopefully that helps you a little bit if you don't know how to use that function, so that I don't have to explain it in this video and I can just share some ideas with you. For a recurring getaway, something that I really love is like a couples retreat weekend, making sure that you spend some time with your significant other on the weekend away, making sure that you take a break from your daily routine from both trying to work and actually take some time off to spend time together and rekindle that love that you had or still have for each other. The second one could be a kids visit grandparents weekend where the kids will actually go over to their grandparents, or if you're playing with a storyline where the parents are divorced, your Sims could go to one or the other parent over the weekend where they can actually spend some time and do some activities while your adult Sims at home can actually do other things and maybe travel and stuff like that without having to worry about the kids. You could do a girls trip or a guys trip. If you have like a big friend group with your Sims, you can actually go away on like a little girls or guys trip and do activities that you think would be fun for your Sims to do. Another one could be a parent-child day where you put a recurring getaway where your Sims will actually go every 2 weeks to go on like a little parent-child day to do fun things together to bond, which I think is something that you can do while you're at home as well, but just having that scheduled in your calendar will just make it so much more wholesome. Another one could be a fitness club meetup. If you schedule that, let's say every Saturday from 10 in the morning until 1 p.m., your Sim could actually go to like a fitness class or a fitness club meeting every single week and actually build the fitness skill. Another one that could be very similar is a wellness getaway. Let's say that your Sim every single year books a wellness getaway with her friends or maybe with their parents, and they can actually get away and work on their wellness skill and just relax and then come back home like all pampered and stuff. Next up would be a creative retreat where your Sim will go on like a little writing retreat or painting retreat every single year over summer or something like that. You could even do a pet training camp where your Sim will take their cat or their dog or their horse or whatever pet they have in game and actually visit a place where they take the pets with them. And then if it's horse riding, you could do like a horse riding camp, or if it's like a dog training week or something like that. Or it could even be one day a week where every Sunday your Sim will take their dog to like a training park, and then the getaway will be set up that your Sims will be following a schedule and there will be a Sim there with like a very high dog training skill to mentor everyone, for example. And the last one would be a seasonal market visit. I think it could be a really fun idea if you set up like a market lot somewhere in your world and you have like tables and produce and stuff like that, and then your Sim can go there to actually get their groceries and actually shop some like secondhand furniture or paintings or stuff, or even it could be a place for your Sim to go to if they make things themselves to then sell to other Sims. With that, I've actually covered all the recurring getaways, so let's move on to the next category, which is storytelling hooks. If you're someone who struggles to come up with creative stories and you feel like you're constantly repeating yourself, or you're not even telling stories at all and you're just playing with your Sims to keep them alive and, you know, play through their career and stuff, these might actually be really interesting to you. So these can be scheduled in the calendar basically as a reminder to do them so that you can keep your storytelling fresh. The first one would be a roll of dice, which is basically where you roll dice or you use a random number generator, and then you have a corresponding list with a bunch of random actions that you will have to do when you roll a certain number. I actually have a list with like over 40 ideas on my website where you can just take from it as inspiration. These are all things that I use in my Not So Berry challenge on my Twitch streams. Some of them can get pretty extreme, from like taking all your Sims money away or having to kill a Sim. If you don't enjoy those things, you can just remove them from the list, but I'll make sure that my website is linked in the description box down below as well. The second one is a surprise visitor day, which is basically where in your storytelling, you'll make sure that someone comes to town or to your Sim's house that will be like a surprise visitor. This can be someone that they already know or a completely new someone, and then you have to work into the story as to why that person showed up at your front door. You can do something with unexpected weather. This can be like, I don't know, a very random blizzard in like Oasis Springs, for instance, and then all of your Sims get snowed in and they have to stay in for the week, and something like that, where you actually take something that could happen in real life and would be very rare and unexpected and try to work it into your storyline. Another one could be like a random generational event of like someone unexpectedly gets married, or someone unexpectedly gets divorced, or there's a new family feud between two family members and your Sim gets caught up in it, something like that. The next one could be a career chaos day, which is something that I don't think I've ever done, but it would be so funny. And that is where you temporarily have to Sim switch jobs. Obviously, that would require you to quit out of a career and then join another career. If you want to do this, I can highly recommend getting a mod like UI Cheats, where you can easily cheat your Sim back to the level that they were on. So for some of these, it kind of depends on if you're open to modding your game and if you like that style of gameplay. But I think it is fun to have these little story hooks in your calendar so that when they pop up, you just have to work it into your story. And next one could be a mystery mail event where you could pretend like your Sim just received a letter of someone, maybe someone from their past, maybe they got like a secret mission, but you can just pretend like that. In the end, a big part of The Sims is playing pretend, and I feel like all of these little story hooks could help you play pretend a bit easier. And the last one in this one could be like a life audit, where your sim basically, you can either have it be triggered by a life event, or just maybe have it like your sim does a yearly like reevaluation session where they think about their aspirations and their goals and their career and what they want to do in life, and maybe use that as sort of an incentive to maybe change some things around, give them a new aspiration, change their job. Maybe they finally want to find their significant other and have children and settle down, and like all of those things, kind of use that moment to pivot the story to something else that you're currently doing. And basically with that, we have landed in the last category, which is the save file specifics. And these are all ideas of things that you can schedule if they fit your storyline. These are not going to make sense in every single save. However, you might be able to use them as inspiration for something that you're playing through right now. The first one could be an adoption anniversary, which is similar to like a birthday, but then not just celebrating the day when someone was born, but the day that someone was adopted, which you could just schedule as soon as you adopt someone in the game. You can actually put it in your calendar as a yearly reminder. The next one could be a move-in anniversary, so you could celebrate the day that your sims moved in together. The next one we already kind of talked about with Remembrance Day, but I feel like if in your storyline there is a very specific person that you want to remember, you could schedule like a specific Remembrance Day on the day that they passed, rather than having a more generic Remembrance Day for all the sims that have passed in your save. You could have your proposal day in your calendar so that every single year you will know that it's been a year since your sims got proposed to, or you could even do a marriage anniversary where you can renew vows, where your sims can get married again, but also just where you can celebrate the fact that your sims have been married for 1, 2, 3 or more years. You could do a career milestone celebration, specifically if your sim, you could maybe say when your sim starts a new career, when they reach level 5, or when they complete a career in level 10. You could specifically schedule that in their calendar so they can do a big celebration to invite over all of their friends to celebrate their big career milestone. The next one could be a very fun one, which is a legacy founder day. So let's say that you start a legacy challenge on a specific day, and that is your first day in a new save file for the Not So Berry challenge or the Pack Legacy challenge or any other challenge that you're playing through. Schedule that immediately in the calendar, and then every single year, no matter what generation you're playing with, you can do a little moment and a little celebration in honor of the founder of the legacy challenge. If your legacy challenge actually has something very specific for that generation, using the Not So Berry as an example, the first generation is a scientist, you could even do things that are related to that founder on that Founders Day to kind of honor them and honor their memory. The next one could be a new baby day, which obviously would just be like a birthday, although birthdays in The Sims unfortunately don't always fall on the same day every year, so they move up because every life stage has a different duration. So if you want to continuously celebrate your sim's birthday or their sim's new baby day, you could actually schedule it in the calendar the day that they're born, and then every single year on that day you also get to celebrate them regardless of their birthday. If you wanted to do more realistic storytelling, you could even use that as a day to manually age up your sims in the game, so that you don't have to be dependent on the age stages that come with the game altogether, and you can just turn aging off and use the calendar to keep track of your birthdays. You could celebrate a pet adoption day, the day that you got like your cat, your dog, or your horse in the game, and make that a little day where you treat them with a bit of extra love when it comes around on the calendar. And you could do a Where Are They Now day, which is something that I personally would love to schedule in my saves, where if you play with aging off, you can like revisit old households and kind of see what happened to them. But especially if you're someone who does not play rotationally and you have a family with brothers and sisters, and those brothers and sisters kind of, eventually move out and live somewhere, if you don't play with the neighborhood stories on, those brothers and sisters basically never really get a storyline. They're kind of just stuck in wherever the moment you move them out. On like a day like Where Are They Now day, you could temporarily switch control to that household, like temporarily also turn off like that 8 households that you're not playing with will age and stuff. And you can do like a 1 day in game where you do play rotationally and you just set up a little bit of a story for those sims that you normally don't play with. This will in the end create more immersive storylines for your sim that you are playing with without having to fully commit to playing rotationally all the time. I think that actually covers all the ideas that I have for custom holidays that you can make in your game. If you have any more ideas, feel free to drop them in the comments down below, because I would love to hear what kind of holidays you already have in your game. And just in general, are you someone that schedules custom holidays in their calendar, or is this your first time that you're thinking about it? And are you excited to get going now? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, if it was helpful to you and gave you some inspiration, please toss it a cheeky like as always. And if you like this video, feel free to check out my channel, because I make a lot of Sims videos, but also videos about other comfy games. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, feel free to check it out. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye everyone!